There has been an awful lot of trailing for this budget, and there's an awful lot we do know about what is going to be in it, and there's a few controversial things as well, not least, of course, the freezing of the income tax thresholds and, as Molly was just talking about as well, not in the budget, but a very big potential story here with the courts. I spoke to Darren Jones earlier, who's Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, who, of course, previously worked very closely with Rachel Reeves, so he is a man who does know what's in the budget. Thank you very much for being with us. I feel like we don't normally get a government minister on budget day. I mean, the theory is, there's not that much to say before the budget, so I'm quite interested that you decided to do the interview today, which I guess it means you've got something to say. So I guess what's your kind of... We live in hope. What's your main message this morning, then?
Well, look, I mean, this is a budget that's going to help tackle the cost of living. It's going to keep our investment in the NHS and get waiting lists down, and it's going to bring down the national debt, because we know that's been a real problem for us over the last 14, 15 years, where we're spending £1 in £10 of taxpayers' money paying debt interest, which no one wants to do, of course. So this is going to be a big budget that drives against those issues. These are the public's concerns. That's why there are concerns in government. And obviously, whilst I can't confirm the detail of the budget, the Chancellor will present that later to Parliament today.
Is welfare spending going to go up after the budget?
So welfare spending isn't set at a budget. It's a demand-led budget. So if you become a pensioner or you become sick, you have a right to claim for certain types of support. So what happens is the Office for Budget Responsibility forecasts how much they think might be spent on welfare. But do we think the rate of increase in welfare spending is sustainable? No, we don't. And that's why we've got a ministerial colleague, Stephen Timms, doing a review, things like the youth guarantee, to try to get that down in the future.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is there's been an awful lot of leadership speculation. Is this a budget that is more about, making sure Keir Starmer's still here to fight the next election, as in he doesn't face a leadership challenge, rather than winning the next election?
No. I mean, we've got another 3 years, another 3 budgets probably to go until the 2029 election. This is a budget that's dealing with the public's concerns and the world as we find it. I mean, the Chancellors have made no secret of the fact that it's a challenging budget because of what's going on, whether it's on the cost of government debt or the changing global tariffs and trade in the economy and those types of issues. But no, this is a budget which meets the needs of the country and helps deliver on our promise of change.
There's been lots of speculation about some kind of property tax, on homes above £2 million. Would you be hit by that?
Would I be? Well, I don't know what the tax is, against...
Yeah, you do. Of course you do.
Well, actually, I do.
You do know, you just don't want to say
I'll be honest,
what it is.
I do know, but I can't tell you. So the Chancellor will tell you later. What I can tell you is that I do not live in a mansion. And so, subject to whatever the Chancellor announces later, I don't know. I mean, I don't live in a mansion. I suppose it's the root of your question. That'd be nice too, I suppose.
There's also been a lot of speculation about freezing personal allowances. So if that happens, it would mean people will be paying more income tax, correct?
Personal allowance is the amount that you get to earn before you pay tax. And that's kind of set at a certain rate. And it will be for the Chancellor to decide in the budget later alongside other tax measures.
If you freeze the personal allowances, that means people will be paying more income tax, correct?
It depends if your pay goes up. So if you freeze, say, this is not the right numbers, but just to round them off, if the personal allowance is £10,000 and you earn under £10,000, you don't pay tax. And if you earn over £10,000, you do pay tax.
I think, with respect, I think you're dancing on the head of a pin here, right? If you freeze the personal allowances, that means that people will pay more income tax. That is right, isn't it?
Only if their pay goes above the threshold. If their pay doesn't change, then it doesn't change their situation.
But wage inflation happens, right, doesn't it? And also if you're freezing it, as opposed to, it going up, which is what it's currently projected to do, that means people will be paying more income tax.
If their pay goes above a threshold, then they'd pay more than that when they were below the threshold.
So that's yes.
Well, practically, yes, if they earn more above the threshold than they did before.
I guess people would say, if you're paying more income tax, then that effectively means there's been a rise in income tax.
Well, income tax is measured by the headline rate alongside national insurance and VAT. This is the percentage you might pay depending on your level of income. And, of course, we have a manifesto commitment not to change the headline rates of income tax, national insurance.
I know why you're answering in this way, because you want to be able to say that you haven't broken the manifesto pledge on raising income tax. But for most people, if you're effectively bringing in a policy that means people will be paying more income tax, that's a rise, isn't it? It's effective. It's a manifesto breach by stealth.
Well, the first thing is there's a lot of speculation in that question, so we'll have to wait and see what the budget says. All I'm saying to you, Sophie, is that you pay income tax in two ways, depending on if you meet a threshold to start paying it, and then depending on how much you earn, what the rate of income tax is. That's what are called the headline rates. So it's lower if you earn lower amounts, higher if you earn higher amounts as a progressive taxation.
There's a lot of words to say that people will be paying more income tax.
No, because the budget hasn't been delivered yet. All I'm saying is I'm explaining how income tax is structured, and you're asking me if certain things are manifesto breaches or not, and all I'm saying is there was a manifesto commitment not to increase the headline rates of income tax, national insurance and VAT, which we obviously take very seriously.
So it wouldn't be a breach? If people end up paying, if you freeze the personal allowances and it means people pay more income tax as a result, that still wouldn't mean that your people are paying more income tax under a Labour government.
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals because it might send everyone off crazy. We'll have to wait for the budget later. All I'm saying is that there's a threshold and there's a rate. And we had a very clear manifesto commitment not to increase the headline rates of income tax.
Now, I know you've obviously had your head in the budget as well, but I need to ask too about this leaked memo from the Ministry of Justice that is proposing scrapping trial by jury for everything apart from rape, murder and manslaughter. I mean, this would be a huge change if it happens. How would you feel about it?
Well, look, it's unfortunate that policy documents are being leaked because the government's not actually made a decision on this one way or the other, to be honest. So I can't tell you what David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, wants to do. It may be that, and I've not seen the leak, and obviously government doesn't comment on leaks, so I don't know what the source of the document is. What I do know is that we've got, I think it's around 80,000 people in a backlog in the court system, which is a huge problem, not just for victims who might be waiting for justice to be served, but also for people who may be innocent but don't get proven innocent until the trial happens. So we've got to clear through the backlog. We've had an independent inquiry from Sir Brian Leveson, who's a former judge who's looked at this. He's been very clear with us, you can't spend your way out of this problem. We've put more money in and increased the number of sitting days and all that sort of stuff, but there's still a kind of structural backlog in the court system, which we do have to try to get through. But as I say, the government hasn't made a decision one way or the other.
Yeah, I understand, and I know it's difficult to comment on leaks and stuff, but I am interested in what you, kind of Darren Jones, thinks about this, because it is such a big deal, right? That the whole point of justice in this country is that you be tried by, or judged by 12 of your fellow citizens, right? If it's a judge, then that changes everything. Judges aren't reflective of the population for a start. 90% of them are white, 65% of them are men. Yeah. By definition, they've had a university education. That would be justice decided by a certain sector of society.
Well, I suppose on the first part of your question, this all goes back to the Magna Carta, if we really want to get into it. But the Magna Carta is very clear that you have the right to a trial that is timely. I mean, what you don't want is to get clogged up in a system that takes years for justice or your innocence to be proven one way or the other, which is why the court system
I understand absolutely the backlog and the difficulty that has for victims, people who are on trial, all that kind of stuff. I totally get it. But this would be a huge change to the way we look at justice, right? Well, are you comfortable with it? Well, if it happens.
Well, as I say, the government hasn't made a decision, so I can't say whether I'm comfortable with it or not because we've not made a decision yet.
Come on, you can say you're comfortable with something without making a decision.
Well, I don't know the source of the leak, so I really can't tell you with any kind of credibility what it's about. To be honest,
I'm not saying whether or not you think it's going to happen or what the government's plans are. I'm asking what you think about something like this.
Well, look, there's lots of criminal cases that are without jury trial. There are some with jury trial. Ultimately, you want to make sure the Justice Service is meeting the needs of victims and prosecuting people who have committed crimes and making sure that they suffer the consequences. The backlog is making it harder to do that, so it's right the department looks at how to clear it.
Just talking about Rachel Reeves, you obviously work very, very closely with her. I'm sure you still do as well. She's done a few more kind of personal interviews recently where she's talked about the pressures, she's talked about mansplaining, she's talked about misogyny in the House of Commons too. What's your reflections on that? Do you think she gets a harder time because she's a woman?
I mean, I think probably, yeah. I mean, it's for her to say, right? It's not for me to judge that for her. But, I mean, I've seen lots of examples where I think it's probably unfair criticism of Rachel. I mean, being Chancellor of the Exchequer and being Prime Minister, two of the hardest jobs we have in running the country. I've worked very closely now with both of them, so I know firsthand how tough they are. And so I have a huge amount of respect for Rachel and for Keir with what they're trying to do.
How is she? Is she finding it OK?
I saw her yesterday and she seems great. I mean, Rachel, I mean, she's on fighting form. She's done this work. She's going to go out and deliver the budget and fight for the choices that she's made, and that's why she's our Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Now, I know you've got a busy morning, you've got lots to get to, but just finally, I really want to ask you about the Prime Minister in this 6-7 video, right? Do you know about this thing? Yeah. Do you know about it? Are you?
Do you know? Let me just go. I know nothing about TikTok or rappers, but someone sent me the lines. Apparently, it's to do with a rapper from America and TikTok. I mean, I have no idea.
Do you feel that, like, actually, no matter how the budget goes, Keir Starmer has done one thing that is good for parents and teachers across the country in making 6-7 overnight deeply uncool?
Well, I mean, he seems to be having a great time with kids on his visit to a local school about our brilliant policy on funded childcare and school-based nurseries. I'm amazed he even knew what this was. I mean, he's 60-something. I'm
He's got
in my
children.
30s. I've got no idea what this is. I suppose my kids are too young to be on TikTok.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.